And as always, your views and comments are welcome. Look for us on social media at Joy News on TV, on Facebook at Joy News on TV, also on Twitter. Remember to add the hashtag the pulse to your comments. We'll be glad to share your thoughts with the rest of the world. We begin today with some news from the Water Resources Works and Housing Ministry. Now, they say that government will improve Ghana's urban water coverage from 78% from 76% by the end of the year. Now, currently, rural water coverage stands at some 64.9%. According to Samson Ahi, the Deputy Minister for the sector, the level of government commitment and funding from international donor parties, Ghana is on course to achieve national water coverage by this year. And this proves that government's commitment to achieve the nationwide coverage by 2025 is well on course.
Water supply to Greater Accra metropolitan area, which used to have challenges, has now been substantially addressed. We are aware of the problems in the distribution network, and consequently, government has secured a grant of $48.1 million from the World Bank to address the bottlenecks. The urban water supply master plan is being updated. This will guide the distribution infrastructure improvement works. The first phase of the project will improve the water supply service in Teshinungwa, Glefe, Mamponsi, Toko, and Mamumu. It involves the laying of about 49-kilometer length of distribution pipelines. The subsequent phase of works will also involve the laying of about 150-kilometer length of distribution pipelines expected to improve distribution and enhance access to water to about 250,000 people living in Gama. The beneficiary communities will include Asofan, Ajay Kwadwo, New Boy Town, Frafraha, Otano, Tetegu, Ashareboche, Zenu, Katamanso, Taifa, Sepema, Kwabenya, Pokwase, Lankwantanan, and others. Honorable Chairman, more projects have been planned to enable government provide water for all by 2025. The ministry, by dint of hard work and judicial use of its resources, will complete and commission the following projects in the water sector by the end of this year: Kwawu Ridge, Kumawu, and Konongo water projects, Nsawam water project, Wa water project, Boko water project, Namvrongo water project, and the Northern Region Small Town Water Supply Project.
So depending on where you are and per the list he gives out, there should be some more water coming your way in the urban areas. Well, Mr. He also explained the reason why rural areas are provided with boreholes, even though concerns have been raised about rural dwellers preferring standing pipes.
The standard is that every 300 people must be provided with one borehole, and every community which is above 2,000 and above must be given small town water system. So there are criteria. It's not, so if you have 600 population, it is expected that they will be given 2 boreholes. Okay. Because the idea is that every 300 communities should have access to one borehole. Okay. So that's what we do. We don't just send the system there. We look at the population, we look at the numbers before we do it. So if such communities are above 2,000 and above, then when there is a facility, they will be considered.
So that's the sector, the Deputy Minister for Water Resources Works and Housing today, addressing the media after a news conference. They have given a breakdown of what has been done in that sector in terms of water resources, works and housing, government's work done in the past 1 year, the improvement they seek to bring. But you are the ones who are supposed to be the beneficiaries. If you feel strongly about any of the comments he's made today, you can send us your views and comments via social media. Look for us on Facebook and on Twitter at Joy News on TV. We'll be glad to share your thoughts with the rest of the world. And speaking of things that matter to you as Ghanaians, well, at least 70% of you believe that the country is heading in the wrong direction. That's according to a survey that has revealed this. The survey was conducted by the Center for Democratic Development, and it's painted an image of dissatisfaction among Ghanaians about the management of the economy. Addressing a news conference to present the survey, Senior Research Officer at the Center, Daniel Ato, said 6 out of 10 Ghanaians graded government poorly in providing reliable electricity. My colleague Joseph Akable was at that news conference, and he joins me in the studio now with more on this story. Joseph, how did the Center arrive at this percentage? 70% or 60% say that the country is heading in the wrong direction. How did they come by that?
So data for the survey was collected between July 2 and 18, 2016. Now what they did was that they interviewed 2,400 Ghanaians across the country. Now according to the center, they used the random sampling method. So what it meant is that each and every individual in the country had an equal chance of being part of the study. Now they interviewed the people using their language which they were comfortable with. So if they go to an area and the people are conversant in English, they use the English language. Whilst in the other areas where they are conversant in the local dialects, they use those local dialects as well. And according to the study, they are saying that 70% of Ghanaians responded that they are of the view that the country was heading in the wrong direction.
Okay, do you know what the sample size is? Because often when these researchers come at a time like this when we're close to an election, some view it with a very political lens. Do we know what the sample size is, what the margin of error is for this research?
2,400 persons were interviewed across the country, whilst for the margin of error, it is a plus or minus 2% with a confidence level of 95%.
Okay, let's hear from the CDD people today when we were addressing this news conference, explaining why, in their view, per the research they've done, the country is heading in the wrong direction.
If governments who have performed very or fairly bad across the range of macroeconomic indicators that we have over there, and narrowing income gaps between the rich and the poor. So on these indicators, we had majorities of Ghanaians believing the government has done. Now, what do Ghanaians think about the direction of the country? We had 70% believing the country is in the wrong direction. That is, the country probably is in the wrong gear. Instead of moving forward, probably we are reversing. And then we also had about 24% thinking the country is headed in the right direction. And when we asked them whether they think government is solely responsible or government and other factors are responsible, we had almost half, 49%, attributing the direction of the country completely or mostly to government. Comparing this finding to that of Afrobarometer, we see about 12 percentage point drop in those who perceive the country to be in the wrong direction. In Afrobarometer, it was around 82, but the current one is around 70. So even though the 70 is high, it appears to have gone down a little bit. What are the policy priorities of Ghanaians? What we normally do is we ask respondents to give us 3 main problems that they want the government to address. But this time around, because it is a pre-election survey, we ask them to tell us what 3 main problems they think political campaigns should focus on. So basically about issues that they think politicians should address in their campaigns. And this is the finding that we had. Unemployment was first on the first priority list. It was also second on the second priority list, which simply means that Ghanaians see unemployment as a huge challenge. And this is something they want politicians to focus on during their campaign. And then we had electricity and education coming third. Now when we compare this finding, we compare it to Afrobarometer, they are about the same. You can clearly see that between 2014 and 2016, Ghanaians' policy preference or policy priority mix has not changed so much. We still have unemployment, electricity, education, and management of the economy being in the forefront. So I think these are key issues that the electorates will want politicians to address during their campaigns.
Right, let's get more on the story from Joseph Akable. He's with me in the studio. Joseph, we also understand that some views were expressed today as regards government's handling of unemployment and the economy. What were the issues that were highlighted in this report? So
for that segment of the report, it's looked out for the macroeconomic indicators. So we are talking about creation of jobs. We are talking about how to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor. And with regards to unemployment, the survey says that about 66% of the view that government is not managing the unemployment situation well.
As to whether the government has been doing well or badly in handling their first policy priorities, so what we do is, the follow-up question is, given your first most important problem that you want the campaign to address, do you think the government has been doing well or badly handling that problem, addressing that problem? And what we found was that 64% believe the government is performing very or fairly badly in managing or addressing their first most important policy priority. And about a third, however, rated government's performance as very or fairly well. Once again, we look at the trend. Those who believe the government is managing their first policy priority very or fairly badly dropped from 66 to 64, so just some negligible reduction. And those who believe they are doing fairly or very well moved from 28 to 32 or so. And then those who don't know, 4% to 3%, virtually the same. A narrow majority also believe that another political party can do a better job of addressing their first most important priority.
So that's for the issue of government's handling of their priorities as far as their promises were in 2012 up until this minute, and what people's views have been in the period. Joseph, we also know that it was closely linked to the kind of issues that people would want to see some action being taken on as we head into these crucial elections this year. What are some of the things that were highlighted in this report as people's views on what should take center stage in this year's elections?
So the electorates expect to hear more about unemployment situation. They want to find out from the candidates how they seek to address that challenge, aside unemployment to power-related issues. We know how we've had some power challenges in the past. They expect to find out from the political actors as to how they'll be addressing the challenges and to ensure that we don't return to that particular situation. So those were some of the concerns that came in, the main ones.
So now we move into factors that are likely to influence voter preferences. And as Prof said, that will actually influence their choices at the forthcoming polls. Solid majorities of Ghanaians claim their vote choices in the 2016 polls will be influenced a great deal or somewhat by a variety of policy and campaign issues ranging from bad roads, 76%, all the way to national embarrassments such as the World Cup scandal in the half, a little over half, compared to the others is on the lower side. But the key ones are the bad roads, government corruption, power outages, high prices of foodstuffs, ability to get medical care, use of abusive language, arrogance and disrespectful nature of politicians. So we can clearly see these are issues that they claim will have strong influence on the decisions they will make at the 2016 elections. A majority of Ghanaians, that is 57%, endorse voting for the parliamentary candidate who will make policies that benefit everyone in the country. But we also found that 4 in every 10 Ghanaians say they will vote for candidates who can deliver goods and services to people in their community. So virtually what this slide is telling us is that, once again, people are going to vote on the basis that the one I'm going to vote for is able to formulate policies and implement those policies to the benefit of every Ghanaian. That is what I see from this slide. They are not thinking about bring me some goods in my community and I'll vote for you, but rather what can you do to help all of us as a nation? And that is something that is coming out here. A majority of Ghanaians strongly agree with the statement that they vote for parliamentary candidate of political party that advances ideas they share. And nearly 4 in 10, on the other hand, say they vote on the basis of the merits of the candidate and the party affiliation is secondary. So over here, I see 2 issues coming up. One, they are ready to vote for somebody who shares ideas that they believe in. So in that situation, if you have some issues on board and they believe in that issue, then you are likely to get their vote. On the other hand, where the party colors are concerned, they are not important to them. It is about, one, the merit of the candidate. Looking at the candidate, can this person deliver on what I want? That is what I get from this story.
Right, so those are some of the things that will play a big part in people's decisions on who they will vote for in this year's elections. It's very interesting, the things to look at in terms of jobs, unemployment, one of the key factors to look out for. And we've already heard some of the candidates in the run-up to this election mention the ability to create jobs, others also who've created the jobs, and the criticism back and forth within the political party. Let's see how that plays out. But the final thing I want us to look at in this report, Joseph, is about the unlikely factors. And that's the part that I get intrigued, because the factors in there shock me. What are some of these unlikely factors?
Well, Francis, you know the view often by some political analysts, the fact that there are some parties that we have the opinion that because they are a certain part of people from part of the country will vote for them.
Yeah.
But the survey gives indication otherwise. So it says, for instance, that people will not vote for persons because of the region they are coming from, or the religion, or the issue about gifts. We all know how politicians tend to be able to influence.
Give me the breakdown for that. Do we have a breakdown of what percentage goes for people who will not vote for their people because they are in the same region? Do we have that?
All of that is in a majority. So you have a majority of them beyond 50% saying that they are going to vote for people not based on the region they are coming from, but rather it has to do with the issue that has to do with unemployment, job creation, how to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor, among others.
Okay, let's hear from the presentation and how they explain that, because it will be fascinating to understand that in the context of strongholds of political parties, say in the Ashanti region or in the Volta region, how the votes go and how this plays into this particular report.
About factors that are unlikely to influence voter preferences in the 2016 elections. Absolute majority of Ghanaians strongly disagree with the assertion that they will vote for parties whose candidates offer gifts or see to their personal needs. So if you decide to offer gift or you decide to meet somebody's personal needs like school fees and other things with the mind that he or she is going to vote for you, Ghanaians are saying they are not going to look at that to vote for candidates and parties. And then candidates who identify with their religious faith, they are not bothered about whether you belong to my religious faith. As we saw in the previous slide, they are saying they are voting on the basis of merit. So whether you belong to my religious faith and you don't qualify to be there, you will not get my vote. That is what they are portraying. And so when you are campaigning on the basis of religion, then you know that you have a challenge there. And then candidates who come from their home region, they are not ready to support candidates because they come from their home region. Because once again, they are looking at the merit and whether they can deliver on issues. So now, can we look at the summary findings? Majority of
Right, so that's some of the unlikely factors then. Still a lot of neighborhood questions that we need to ask of the Center for Democratic Development when it comes to this research, because the things they mentioned, yes, issues will be key in the election, but we also know from our political history that where you come from, your religion also play a key role in every election. In fact, we've seen it from the 1996 election right down to 2012. But we will try and interrogate these issues a bit more and try and get you some answers. But thank you, Joseph, for the breakdown of this report. This is something that will be on the minds of many, including political parties, on this matter. Let's now speak to the Director of Research for the National Democratic Congress, Dr. William Ahaji. Thank you for joining us on the program. The CDD in their pre-election survey say that the country, 70% of Ghanaians today believe that Ghana is heading in the wrong direction. What do you make of that finding?
I haven't seen the report. I haven't read the report. In fact, I haven't heard anything about the report until now. I've been in the meeting the whole day. But typically, the initial questions we raise will be the issue about the sample size, then the distribution of respondents, is it national coverage, and the category of respondents. Then normally the conclusion that you will say 70% of the population sampled, not 70% of Ghanaians. So
okay.
I have an issue
with that. So let me give you the
one.
numbers in terms of the sample size. Then maybe
Yeah.
it will help you in your analysis. They were able to speak to 2,400 individuals for this particular research.
Okay. Across the country.
Across the country, yes.
2,400 respondents.
Yes.
Out of 20-something million people. And then you say majority of Ghanaians say the country is heading in the wrong direction.
That's per their research they did,
The
70%.
statement, what will make it a lot more conclusive is that is of the population sample, 70% they have indicated that Ghana is going the wrong direction. But the other question is, what exactly is the wrong direction, or what would be the right direction? I would very much like to hear also what the respondents said, which direction the country should go into.
And with the benefit of what we've seen in this report, Dr. Haji, they speak of unemployment being a big issue, very little access to jobs in the country today, the general economic performances, the ability of this economy to help businesses thrive, especially with the power crisis too we've had in the last 4 years. These three things are some of the reasons why they say that the country is heading in the wrong direction.
Yeah, you know, I as a researcher, I would very much like to interrogate the report before I make any comment, because if they follow all the rigors of data collection and the analysis has been done, well, what you typically say is that it's representative of the population, the sample that was interviewed. But to make a statement, a blanket statement that is 70% of Ghanaians, where I take issue, then I'll also, as you're saying, I'd like to also look at the instrument that was used in collecting data and the specific questions that were put to the different groups or the different individuals who responded, and the ratios of who responded to each of these issues that were tabled for them to respond to. So I will not condemn the report in any way, but I think that it requires a lot more interrogation. But my fair comment is that it cannot be 70% of Ghanaians. It's just 70% of those who responded to the issues.
Okay. Dr. Haji, you are the Director of Research for the NDC, so I imagine that with the kind of work you do with some 5 months to go to the elections, you may have done your own research as well, trying to understand what people make of your party's performance in the past 4 years. What's been the kind of information you've picked up for yourself? For
us, what we've done over the period, we just want to demonstrate that through the winning the elections cleanly. That would be a very strong statement of what we've done, and then we can talk about whether we've been going in the wrong direction or we are on the right track. But so far, I mean, all the things that we said we're going to do since 2012, a large number of them have been done. If we talk about unemployment, it's an issue, it's a global problem. So is the whole world going in the wrong direction? There are policies that are responding to these challenges, and the policies are being implemented.
But you see, some will pick on this, Dr. Haji, and say that your party promised 1 million jobs for the youth in 2012. They were looking forward to these jobs being provided. They didn't see that. That would be an easy example to point to say that's proof that you promised us and you didn't give us what we wanted.
No, you can estimate the number of jobs that you want to create. There are other considerations when it comes to the actual implementation. But I do not recall the party promising 1 million jobs. You know, the party promised to create jobs through implementation of different kinds of policies, and jobs have been created. You see, the thing about job creation also is that you must have the people who have the qualification to take up some types of jobs that are created. So, you know, as I said, I don't want to debate the report. I would like to read it first, and then I can comment on that. And as to what we have done in terms of our track record, which is out there, the verdict will be pronounced in December 2016.
Okay, this is a pre-election survey done by CDD. Ordinarily, perception kind of counts in every election. For your party, in as much as you say that this is a report you need to pick up and read a bit more to understand, is there anything that your party will do in helping to address these things that are coming out of this report?
We are launching a campaign on Sunday, and we would take to the road after the launch of the campaign and actually continue the whole process that we started about accounting to the people for what our stewardship over the last 4 years. And some of these things will come up. And some of the things we picked on the ground also indicate there's some level of satisfaction with some groups. Some still would want us to do a lot more. And it's on account of those things that we are going to go to the ground and explain to the people what we've done. If you didn't have a road in your community in the past, today you have a road. If you didn't have water, today there's a borehole or there's water connected, there's electricity. So some people who haven't seen this over their lifetime are seeing them. What do you think? They would think we are heading in the wrong direction? No, they wouldn't. Because if you ask them whether the road is helping them, they will say yes. If you ask them whether they've got clean water, they will say yes. If you ask them whether they've got a school and their children are going to school, yes. If you ask them whether you've lowered the cost barriers to education, they will say yes. So it depends on who is speaking and what was put in the study that was done. That's the point that we're trying to make.
Okay.
I haven't read the report, so I'm just hearing about it for the first time today
That's
and
fine.
right now.
Okay.
So I defer to CDD for the work they do, but I think this one there can be some contested.
All right, Dr. William Haji, thank you for your time, Director of Research for the National Democratic Congress. Well, we've heard what CDD has to say, we've heard what the NDC has to say about this report, but what do you actually think about the country, its performance, where it's heading? Right or wrong direction? We sample some views on the streets of Accra today.
For me, I can say that the country is moving in the right direction because now for us, I just completed the school and now after completing school, now I've even gotten a job. I've not even received my certificate and I've even gotten a job. So for me, the country is moving forward and it's moving in the right direction.
I think statistically they are right, but if it's, I feel that it's our attitude that's making everything so difficult for us because our attitude towards work is very bad. And
yeah, I agree with what the reports actually, because things are hard in situations and now employment, considering infrastructure, fares and all that, and even 3 square meals a day for some people is actually a very big problem.
Yeah, the country is moving in the wrong direction in the extent that when you go out of school, you didn't get a job, you find it difficult working on the streets before you get a job to do. Sometimes you need to establish yourself before you get something to do.
I would say it's moving into the wrong direction because most of the graduate students are not getting employment and it's really causing problem in the country.
I don't see any better things going on in this country, and everyone is like pushing himself into this office works and all kind of things. Doesn't even think of how to build up the nation. If everybody runs to the office things, now who is going to create and who's going to provide for us to eat?
I believe the country is moving in the wrong direction because the leaders we have are not able to allocate resources very well, and there is a different direction of people, like the students who are graduating out of the tertiary institutions. They always want to be in the better place. They don't want to be as entrepreneurs creating jobs, and there's a lot of unemployment and people are always moving out from the country. And I think all these things and the supervision of the infrastructure that's been developed by the country.
I think that is subjective, all right, because everybody has his or her own opinion. For me, I would have to consider it in sector basis. For some of the sectors of the economy, I think that things are being done better, but even that there is more room for improvement. And for other sectors, considering education, the financial sector, and then, in fact, socioeconomic sectors of our lives. I think that so much has to be done.
The country is moving in the right direction because we have the sense of democracy. That's we can share our ideas on through the media. That's the TV, like as you are doing now on the radio. We can give our complaints to sometimes good morning shows. So I think the country is moving in the right direction.
So depending on where you stand and how you see things, your view may be different. But what do you also think? Send us your views and comments via social media. Look for us on Facebook and on Twitter. Join us on TV. Drop a comment with the hashtag The Pulse. Will be glad to share your thoughts to the rest of the world. Still ahead here on the show, we'll bring you some news from Akosombo today. It looks as though the water level seems to be rising. But what's accounting for this, and how long will this change the stakes for our energy demands in the country? Details of this and more after the break. Stay with us.
The outflow, so the water is at the other side.